Hi, my name is Shaye Siegel, and the book I chose to read about is The Omnivore's Dilemma: A Natural History of Four Meals by Michael Pollan. I chose this book because when I was reading through the different book introductions, this particular introduction talked about what we do to choose the food we eat. In my life, I choose food simply by what animal or crop it comes from, because my life revolves simply around agriculture, which is the main supply of the majority of food products. In a grocery store, there are thousands of different products. The majority of the products found in produce, dairy, and meat departments can all be connected to the vast majority of other edible shelf items, such as cereal, soda, and cake mixes, by one main ingredient: corn. Corn is very versatile and can be used in many different ways, whether it be corn on the cob, dried corn ground for flour, or corn oil to fry your chicken nuggets in. Corn could also be used for agricultural purposes. Corn is fed to livestock, such as chickens and cows. When corn is fed to chickens, and then corn is used to make the corn oil to fry your chicken nuggets in, you buy from the store. Therefore, corn has been used at least twice from the farm to your table. The milk and yogurt in the dairy section comes from dairy cows who used to graze on grass, but now, more often, spend their working lives indoors attached to milking machines and eating corn. Columbus first described the plant as a towering grass with an ear as thick as a man's arm, to which grains were affixed by nature in a wondrous manner and in form and size like garden peas, white when young. The corn lasted much longer than its other native species, bison. The bison were targeted to be eliminated. The new white man brought his own species to the New World with him: cattle and apples, pigs and wheat, and other weeds and microbes to eat. There would not be much history about corn if it weren't for humans. The farmers had to continue to shell kernels off the ears of corn each year so they would have seeds to plant for the following crop season. If farmers did not take action back then, we most likely would not have corn in today's world. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, every part of the corn plant was used. The husk was usually dried and then woven to make rugs. The cornstalk itself was used for forage for livestock or used for livestock bedding. In today's world, there are still many people that chop corn stalks for a cheap source of hay if there was a dry hay summer. Oftentimes now, we throw out the husk of the corn plant and only use the ear that we eat off of. Our ancestors were much more environmentally productive when it came to using every source they had. My favorite part of the book was the agriculture that was involved in it. The book shares the life cycle of the corn plant, which is both agriculture and biology. The fertilization of a corn plant is rather complicated at times. The tassels hold the pollen, and the pollen has to travel to the silks. Each silk on an ear of corn is connected to a kernel. Therefore, when there are usually 400 to 800 kernels on a corn cob, there are 400 to 800 silks that need pollen. When looking at an ear of corn, on each side, there are often times where the kernels are dried and stubby. This represents the kernels that were connected to a silk that did not receive any pollen. When the kernel is fertilized, creating the embryo, the nucleus on the moistened tip of the silk splits into two parts, creating a pair of twins that have had the same genes but with two totally different duties to perform. One twin is to tunnel a microscopic tube down through the center of the silk thread. When that task is performed and completed, the other twin slides down through the tunnel, past the husk, and into the waiting flower, a process that takes several hours to complete. They're 6 to 8 inches long. The impact this book has on the world is that agriculture plays a vital role in what you eat every day. Whether you're drinking a Coke that has high fructose corn syrup in it or eating catfish that was fried in corn oil, part of your food always comes from agriculture. You also have to think about the steps for the product to get from a seed in the ground to the finished product that you're consuming. It is very important to think about where your food comes from and exactly what you're putting into your body. One very interesting fact that I learned that I'm eager to share with others is that you can take part of a human's flesh, to see how much corn the person has consumed. The higher the ratio of carbon-13 to carbon-12 in a person's flesh, the more corn has been in the diet or in the diet of the animals that person had consumed. Many years ago, it would have been much more common to find a higher ratio of carbon-13 in Mexicans because corn is a staple food of choice in their appetite, rather than Americans who used to eat much more wheat than corn. However, now, North Americans use corn ingredients in many more products. Mexicans source the majority of their protein from legumes and beans, and they still sweeten their beverages with cane sugar, where we, as Americans, often use high fructose corn syrup. It is very important to know that what you are putting into your body and how exactly it went from start to finish. I find it more trusting to know that a farmer planted the corn seed that started this entire process. The majority of the products found in the produce, dairy, and meat departments can all be connected to the vast majority of other edible shelf items, such as cereal, soda, and cake mixes, by one main ingredient, corn. Corn is so versatile that it can be used in many different ways, and including its byproducts. You can use corn for corn on the cob. You can dry corn kernels up to make it ground into flour, or you can use corn oil to fry chicken nuggets in. You can also use corn for biodiesel, or for ethanol, sorry. You can use corn for ethanol. The milk and yogurt in the dairy section comes from dairy cows who used to graze on the grass, but now eat more corn. Columbus first described the plant as a towering grass, with an ear as thick as a man's arm, to which grains were affixed by nature in a wondrous manner, and in form and size like garden peas, white when young. The corn lasted much longer than we all thought it would be, and it would not be where it is today if it weren't for humans making an effort to keep it.